in speaking a little about recruiters and how fellow students and the graduates perform on interviews, and they do. Can you speak? Because I guess my experience may be a little bit different. Can you speak a little bit about how the fee is going to address that? And if I understand you correctly, what you're saying is that basically big chunk of this fee is going to help bolster the GCMC and to bring it at least back up to where it was, maybe more, and with the goal of improving the soft skills, the interviewing skills that the students have. That's what I understand you saying.
You're hearing part of that absolutely correctly. I don't think it's quite as exclusively that as you imply, but it is very important to realize that in the past 5 years, the size of our graduate population has grown. As a result of state changes in accounting policy, the MS in accountancy is exploding. The MS in tax is exploding. And this is because they've gone to a 150-hour requirement. So bringing the Grad Career Management Center back to where it was wouldn't be nearly where it needs to be to serve the current needs of the larger number of students, let alone to raise the quality of service for the working professionals to what it should always have been, but hadn't been. So there's a big growth feature there, both because of numbers and because of increasing awareness of the needs. The other reality, though, is that you and I were talking about choices of courses and getting the right courses in the right sequence and being sure that you've got it all worked out. Well, one of the things that happens is Elaine Bernstein's shop provides a lot of that information and a lot of the counseling and a lot of the guidance. There aren't enough people there to do that. Sure. And I think equally importantly, we don't have the ability and resources to make more of this seamless, online, readily available, FAQ, frequently asked questions kind of information. Sure. It just makes people's lives smoother and better. There should not be a need for our students to spend their time and encounter massive frustration in getting simple answers to basic questions that are important to an efficient education.
Sure. A lot of the questions go on, I think, on the metrics, which you continued to talk about. Can I think you mentioned this earlier, but if we can go back on this directive for academic fees, it comes within Baruch. Is this something that's perhaps coming up from higher up, from CUNY, saying that, well, you need to find other ways? Are other institutions within the CUNY system also?
This is largely a Baruch initiative. Mm-hmm. It's largely a Baruch initiative for two reasons, I think. One is because we are passionate about feeling that we're delivering what we ought to deliver for you all. Sure. A second reason is that at the college, the vast majority of our graduate students are making a conscious choice to invest in their human capital to change the pathway of their career. And whether it's within the Zicklin School, a Master's of Science in a business area, an MBA, or in the Weissman School, part of their financial engineering program or their IO Psych program, or in the School of Public Affairs and their professional training for management areas. These are all opportunities to access high-profile jobs with strong economic outcomes and differ from some of the MS programs and some of the other CUNY schools where the resulting career path is not as lucrative, and where as a business decision you wouldn't want to make the investment to get all of the pieces that we're talking about providing. The second reason I think that you'll find Baruch looked at this and thought this is something that can be justified in terms of benefiting our students is that when you compare our price point for the educational experience for any of our degree programs, it is truly a value opportunity. And when you look at the recent Forbes ranking of us as 50th mm-hmm. on a return on investment basis, that's the kind of statement that we're hearing, mm-hmm. that the value is there. What we want to be sure of is that the value is there in all of its pieces to support the student as they move through their career.
Got a couple more questions, moving a little bit more into the future. Is this fee in perpetuity? How long do you see this fee going on? And I'm sure for the foreseeable future.
Right. I would think likely to be in perpetuity. You might say that today, the students who are partway through their programs already, as you are, for example, didn't pay the fee on the first part of their education. And last year, as state budgets tightened and resources became more constrained, more and more of the staff here were working harder and harder to help serve you. And so my sense is that going forward, these fees will continue. A major change that did happen this year was that the City University of New York and the state agreed to a plan about tuition. There'd never been a plan before, and the plan is that tuition might increase a modest amount on an annual basis. If you go back historically over the last 10 years, it's tended to be a step function. No change, no change, no change, big change. We think that's really hard for people. As this particular change is really hard for people, it's big. My sense is that the academic excellence fee is likely to remain a fairly standard long-term fee. The tuition will change modestly on an annual basis for the next 5 years based on what we currently see, and that's where we are. Most of the changes we're making are likely to be permanent changes. Permanent staffing changes, permanent increases in GA budgets. All of those are annual costs. They're not one-time costs. We're not talking about buying a computer system, which once we own it, continues to provide its benefits year after year.
And kind of in closing, and I guess is the sorest subject of all, and you explained a little bit about the communication. I think overwhelmingly, what I've heard spoken, what I've heard written, is this hurt. A lot of ruffled feathers. Timing was horrible, and that's all been admitted. And personally, and my message has been, well, it's done. Let's move on, and let's look at ways we can improve, and we can change the future. Can you talk a little bit? I've got some ideas, but can you talk a little bit about how we can expect as students to hear more from faculty on their committees? We should be invited, and we haven't been invited, from the administration, from the leaders of the institution.
Well, starting as a cure, if you will, for some of the communication issues, you've heard me describe my plans to talk to students regularly, often, and consistently over the next few months. My belief is that should open a dialogue that will enrich all of our communication. So that should be a good starting point for a change in, if you will, the administrative-student relationship going forward. A second thing is, yes, we do acknowledge that this is not how we would have preferred to see this play out. And to the extent that the tuition now looks to be acceptably more manageable on an ongoing basis, these decisions should be taken 6 months to 9 months before their implementation, which should in the future give plenty of notice. So if the tuition were going to change in 2012, people should know that in February.
Jump in real quick there. Do you anticipate another significant change for the next year?
I'm not talking about the student excellence
but
fees.
Just in general.
I think you should expect to see. I think you should expect to see a modest increase in tuition in the fall of 2012, and we'll see, because it has to be approved by the CUNY board. But in principle, the state has said we are no longer going to say year after year after year no, and then impose 25 and 30% increases all of a sudden in the middle of the summer, which is a pattern that you can look back and see for the last 12 years.
So sorry, I interrupted. You were talking about your the communication and the ongoing discussions. So that's going to happen next couple of weeks, this fall.
Well, I think that you've raised the observation that the GSA should have more regular interaction, and I think that we've had some administrative presence at GSA meetings on a regular basis. But I am happy to accept an invitation from the GSA anytime they want to invite me to a meeting, if my schedule permits. And in general, I and Frank Fletcher and other leadership at the grad programs level are happy to be engaged. And whether it's the GSA or whether it's other groups of interested students, those conversations can be arranged.
closing, I have one last request.
Okay.
If I can get you, as an extension, would you be something short, a welcome statement via the GSA newsletter or the Graduate Brooking, which I edit? I'd really welcome
I'd be delighted.
something from the administration to welcome returning students and
I'd
new
be
students.
delighted.
That'd be great.
Yeah, let's talk right after this.
Will do.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.